Hi Corri, you are our potential SNP candidate for the Cunningham North selection for the Scottish Parliament 2021. We have 20 questions here for you, so we'll get started with question number 1. Question 1, what made you get into politics and has that changed at all today?
No, I don't think so. What got me into politics was, I suppose, for me, an extension of the community activism that I've always been involved in. I've always been part of my community. I've always wanted to give something back, and I think in my working life, I was a bit frustrated with what people would call red tape, that stopped people reaching their potential or put barriers up. And I suppose I thought that in a way to address that would be to get into politics to help people, but also to address these barriers and try and change them for the better and make better policies.
Okay, that's great. Question 2, you're challenging a sitting SNP MSP. Do you think that's a wise choice?
The reason I am going for this seat in Cunningham North is quite simply because I was asked to by a number of members, and I think in terms of democracy, that is something that as a political party we should be aspiring to and be welcoming. After all, we're not the Labour Party, and look where that got them. There is no entitlement, there is no safe seat, there is no a seat belongs to one individual person. You are there for the party, and I think it's absolutely right that the members get the opportunity to choose that candidate that they want to represent them. And if that's the sitting candidate, then so be it. But if it's not, then members have a choice.
Great. Question 3, can you give me one thing that you love about the SNP and one thing you dislike about the SNP?
I think what I love about the SNP, sadly, is a bit in the past, to be honest. I used to love what I called the SNP family, the people that you met through the cause and became close colleagues with, and you were out campaigning with them. Campaigning was always fun, and it just felt like one big happy family. You were all working towards the same cause, and I had a feel good about it. And I suppose that brings on to what I dislike about it. To me, we've lost a lot of that now. I don't know if it's because the party has grown too quickly, too fast, and we couldn't keep up with it. But for me, it feels like we have lost a lot of that. There is far too many distractions, far too much infighting, there's too many egos for a start. There's other agendas there that are not about getting us independence, and that makes me sad.
Okay. Question number 4. There's been a lot of discussion online in regards to you and your staff flying business class when you were an MP. What would you say to that, and is it true?
I laugh because it just beggars belief to me how many times this is, regurgitated. I think, as I have said in the past before, we flew between Glasgow and London City, and there was one type of seat. That was it. It's a tiny wee plane with about 50 seats in it or something. One class of seat, and that's what you got. That the booking of your flights was done through the Parliamentary Travel Office, because they can broker the best deals, and they do that travelling for you. So it's not like you go online and go, I'm gonna book this ticket. That doesn't happen. It's all booked through the travel office. Staff, if they were coming down to Westminster, which was not a lot of times, there was a few times depending if there was an event or something that I needed support with, but staff would fly on that same plane with the same ticket. There was no extra money spent. There was no cheaper way to fly from Glasgow to London City.
Okay, so you would say that's not true then?
No, it's not. You're not flying in any special seat or whatever. There's just one class of ticket. I think that has changed now, by the way. But when I was down there, it was one seat and that was it.
Okay. Question number 5. What would you do different in Cunningham North if selected?
I think the one thing that I am hearing from members is that they feel disengaged from their elected member. They don't feel involved, they don't feel valued, and that is something I feel quite strongly about given my track record. I have always involved people, I've always valued people. You have to remember that we are all members and we're all volunteers for that matter. When you're giving up your time to go to a stall on a Saturday or out leafleting in hail, rain or shine, you're volunteering to do that. So you deserve some kind of respect and some kind of involvement in that. And that's what my commitment would be to the members, would be that I would value their expertise in the area, I would value their input, and I would be looking at them to be part of a team. We're all one team working towards that goal of independence.
Okay. Question number 6. You make no secret about being dyslexic. Has it ever set you back in life?
I suppose it depends what you call setting back. It definitely makes life more difficult, but on a plus it makes life interesting as well. I have always struggled in terms of reading lots and lots of stuff. Sometimes you can read a page and get to the bottom and realise that you've taken absolutely nothing in, you've got to start all over again. But for me, what that meant is that I've just had to put in that extra effort to be able to make up for that. Whereas one person, it could take an hour to scan some papers. Me, it maybe takes 3 hours, but I'm prepared to put that 3 hours in. But I think the plus side of being dyslexic for me is I don't think the same way as everybody else does, and I don't process things the same way as everybody else does. And I think that gives me an edge. It gives me an outlook that is not shared by a lot of people. I have got a very creative side, and I think that's where my thinking out the box comes from, and I wouldn't change it for anything.
Okay, thanks very much. Question 7. If you had the power to implement one change with immediate effect, what would that be?
One change, if I think the one thing I would absolutely like to be able to do is introduce the universal basic income, because I think that would go a long way to helping people get onto some kind of level playing field. And I know there's some opposition to that, but I think you need to look at it a lot closer and see what the absolute benefits are of that. We need to get people out of poverty. People being in poverty serves no purpose for a progressive society, and we need to address that.
Okay. Question 8. It's claimed on Twitter and Facebook that you're the 7th highest claimant of expenses when in office as an MP. Is that true?
Absolutely not true. And actually, I don't even know where that came from, but there is a website that you can go to, and if you put in that gives you the 10th highest paid MPs for each given year, and if you put in 2015 to 16 and 2016 to 17, my name's nowhere near there. That's a unionist narrative made up by the unionists and run by individuals, sadly.
Okay, question 9. What, if anything, would you like to see changed within the party?
I think we need to have a bit of a review of where we are at the moment and where we're going. There's been far too much recently that have caused what I would describe as distractions in the party that needs to be addressed. And there needs to be more transparency, and there needs to be more accountability. After all, again, I'll go back to the members, and I've said it often, this party is nothing without the members. We are the foundations of the party, and as founding members of the party, we need to be part of that decision-making process. We can't have the decision in the hands of a few without the rest of the membership not knowing what's going on. Again, I've said I can understand, given that the fact that we have increased in numbers and perhaps that makes it difficult. But I think in the past we've been we've been really proud of the conferences that we've had, where we've had some excellent debates. And you know, if things are debated and voted on properly and democratically, then all the members get behind it. It's a no-brainer.
Thanks very much. You commented there about being proud. Question 10, what's your proudest moment?
My proudest moment? I don't know, I think that's quite hard, because there's been probably a few proud moments. I'm proud of my children and the adults that they have become. I'm proud that I have been able to be part of history, in terms of I was one of the 56 that was elected to go down to Westminster in 2015. That's a moment in history that you can't change. I would like to have seen bigger and better things have come out of that, but I was proud of that moment too.
Okay. Question 11, if successful and selected, what would be your priorities for Cunningham North?
I think probably in terms of the immediate thing is, depending on where we are in May next year, the coronavirus, where are we at with that? Have we come out the end of it? Are we post coronavirus? What has that meant for businesses? What has that meant for people? What has that meant for jobs? I think there's going to be a huge piece of work ahead of us, in terms of trying to get back to some kind of normality, whatever normality is. And that's going to be a big priority. But the first thing for me would be a fresh set of eyes in the constituency. Somebody who is coming in and looking at things anew. I would be expecting to go and be meeting people, talking to people, meeting up with businesses, meeting up with individuals, and getting to know the members. And I want to hear what the people of Cunningham North have got to say. I want to know what their priorities are and what it is they want my help with. Because again, it would be about team playing. No matter whether you're the SNP or not, if you're in that constituency, then I would be looking to work with you to make that constituency a better place.
Okay, question 12. You employed both your son and daughter. Do you think that was a good idea?
Hindsight's always a wonderful thing, and I think that the main thing for me is that I didn't break any rules employing them, and I suppose it kind of goes back to my dyslexic bit. For me, at a time whereby we had just arrived down in Westminster, newbies, bit green behind the ear, I needed people with me that knew how I worked, knew how my brain processed things, to help me get established quite quickly, because you literally have to hit the ground running. I think this employing family stuff, again, is a unionist rhetoric, which is ironic, because the unionists were the biggest employers of family. In fact, it was multiple families. Now, of course, in all elected office, you can't employ family. But I think at that time, I needed the trust and support of people that knew how I worked. Each child, when they were employed, were employed on the lowest salary compared with the rest of the staff. And I can categorically say they worked harder than the rest of the staff. In fact, quite often, my son would remind me at 11:45 on a Saturday night, when I was talking something to do with work, that did I phone the rest of my staff at that time to talk about work. So whilst there was advantages for me, I think there was disadvantages for them. If I had the opportunity to do it again, I'm not sure whether I would have done anything different. I think at that time we thought that fixed term parliament down there for 5 years, we were going to get independence and we would be out of Westminster. Unfortunately, that didn't happen.
Okay, question 13. What's the funniest thing you've seen online that the trolls have said about you?
the thing they always go on about is my teeth for some bizarre reason. I can't remember that cartoon character that they always put a picture up of me. But it's always got to do with my teeth. But the other really funny thing was a lot of trolls had referred me to being like Ruby Wax, thinking, I don't know why they thought that was going to be some insult, because I absolutely love Ruby Wax. And actually I got to meet her because she's really into mental health support and awareness, and she's a big ambassador for mental health. And I met her down in Westminster and we had a good laugh about it. But yeah, but you know, see once you resort to personal insults and slagging, you've lost the argument.
Okay, thank you. Question 14. It's been claimed by a Labour peer and a Tory MSP that you've been under official investigation. Is that true, and what was the investigation?
I've been under zero investigation, and again, this is a unionist narrative. You've got to remember, when we went down there in 2015, the Tories, or the unionists, didn't know what hit them. 56 SNP MPs elected to go to Westminster was a big shock. And this is a very Tory area, the Ayr Carrington Cumnock. And so that mill started, that smear mill started. So what John Lamont used to do every 6 months without fail, pick a new newspaper and tell them that he had reported me to the Standards Commission in Scotland for election, for expense fraud or something. Now, John Lamont and the rest of us know that the Scottish Standards Commission don't deal with complaints about MPs, they deal with complaints about MSPs and councillors. But that didn't matter because the headline was that John had reported me to them. Now I have letters from the Standards Commission in Scotland and the Standards Commission in Westminster that categorically state I have never been under investigation for anything at all. And this is just lies that are constantly printed and constantly regurgitated, sadly by some members as well, which is very disappointing. You can expect that from the unionists, but our members should know better.
Okay, another hot topic is your company, Caledonia Resources, and the Scottish Government. What was the contract you had between them, and was that money spent on the Indie Death campaign?
Okay, so after I recovered from cancer in 2010, obviously that's a big wake-up call for you, and you decide what you want to do with the rest of your life. And I decided to start my own business. It was an events business and a business support business. At that same time, Chick Brodie had been elected as the MSP for the South West of Scotland on the list. Now, the list MSPs, if I remember right, shared an office in Hawick. Chick lived in Ayr, so that was practically impossible for him to be going to Hawick. So he negotiated with the Parliament to contract business support from me to help him with the constituency work in the South West of Scotland. The Parliament lawyers absolutely cleared that contract. In fact, they thought it was a good idea because they weren't paying for an office or staff or utilities or whatever. They were just purely paying for the business support, and they quite liked the model. As part of that events business side of it, which was nothing to do with the Chick or the Parliament, I had a number of clients, and one of these clients was the local Yes campaign, and they would contact me, and yes, I was part of that Yes campaign, but I wasn't part of the person that decided on the financial side of it. That was voted on at all our meetings about what money we would spend, what we wanted to happen. And because I was in the business of doing, events and organising things and posters and whatever, they contracted that work to me to do that. And that's where, so there was no public money. They were completely separate things, and there was no public money spent on SNP or independence campaigns. And any time my office was used for any campaigning was out with working hours.
Okay, thanks very much. Question 16. What's your favourite quote or saying?
My favourite quotes, I say all the time, is you don't blow out somebody else's candle to make yours shine brighter. You know, we hear lots of rhetoric online about being kind and you know, supporting each other and building each other up, when in reality it couldn't actually be further from the truth. I have, in my entire time in the SNP and independence movement, I have welcomed and encouraged many people to get actively involved, and at no point has it ever been about one person being better than the other. We've been a team. We were a team down here that worked together for our common goal, and that's what I promote all the time.
Okay. Question 17. Do you have any regrets from your time in office?
My regrets, I think probably, and it's hard to call it a regret because I probably didn't know any better at the time, but I regret taking the advice of the comms team down in Westminster. If you go back to the stories about the allegations about fraud and all sorts of crap that came out, the advice that I was given was, well, just ignore it, don't answer it because then you look defensive, it'll go away. But the reality is it hasn't gone away. Now we're 2020 and it's still been regurgitated on social media. So it hasn't gone away. That was the wrong advice. But I was green round ears down there, a newbie MP, trying to find our way in a ridiculous system that no other parliament would run like. And I had to take the advice that I was given, because at that point I didn't know any better. That, in my opinion, was the wrong advice, and I regret taking that advice because it should have been fought at the time, it should have been put to bed, and that would have been it.
Okay, question 18. Why stand in Cunningham North this time?
I think, as I touched on earlier, because members asked me to. I had actually decided I wasn't going to stand at all, completely disillusioned and sickened by toxic politics locally, and members in Cunningham North came forward and asked if I would consider standing because they wanted a contest. I considered it and agreed to do it. Okay. No other sinister reason, just that.
Okay, thank you. Question 19. It's been reported that you have links to the gaming industry. What are they?
Again, this is more unionist drama. There is no links to the gaming industry other than obviously Air Carrington-Cumnock had a racecourse in the constituency, and as part of your role as an elected member is to engage with local businesses and organisations, and obviously the Grand National in Ayr is sponsored by William Hill, so yes, I'm going to be involved there. I held a breakfast down in Westminster with William Hill, which happens all the time down in Westminster. You organise, because your day is so full of meetings and chamber stuff, you organise a breakfast meeting, and then other MPs can come and ask questions. And make no mistakes, the reason for having that breakfast and having William Hill there was to answer hard questions, was for people around the table to be able to put to them about what they were doing in the gaming industry and what they were doing to safeguard people from severe gambling habits, which was causing mental health and other serious issues. So it's a way of being able to challenge them. And even when I visited the Grand National at Ayr, again, during that day, you have got access to the gaming industry's top people. You can ask them hard questions. You don't just go there and sit and have a jolly. You're there to work. And that's what you do. You put the challenges to them and you ask them how they're going to make it better. It's not the picture that's painted as if it's like you're just out there for a day out. That's not what it's about at all. And I took every opportunity anytime I was with any of the gambling industry and any other industry for that matter, to ask the hard questions, because that's what we were there for.
Okay, question 20 and your last question is, if you could have a dinner party with anyone dead or alive, who would you choose?
Many did I get to have? Who would I choose? Oh, that's quite interesting. I'd like, I certainly would quite like to have JFK, John F. Kennedy. I'd quite like to hear what he's got to say. I'd like to hear more about his time in office and hear it from the horse's mouth as opposed to what the media have said about you. Who else would I say? Elvis Presley. I'd quite like to hear what he's got to say as well, I think. And obviously, I think I would invite Ruby to come along too, because we'd be guaranteed a laugh at the table if nothing else.
Okay, that's all our 20 questions, so thank you very much.
Thank you.